Welcome to the Loss Prevention News Network. I'm Amber Bradley here with my co-MC, Joe LaRocca. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for tuning in. You know, you can always follow Amber on Twitter at MyCalibration or LinkedIn.
For some good, solid marketing tips.
That's right.
That's what I'm tweeting.
And always send us your questions. If they don't make it on for today's broadcast, we certainly can look at them for January.
Yeah, which we've already had tons of entries to the hashtag Guess Joe's Age, and yet we have not had a winner.
No winners.
No winners,
No
but
winners.
and we're not gonna.
No need, no pressure to vote or anything.
Yeah, we're not going to divulge what it actually is.
Yes.
Although you would be shocked out there. I know you would be.
Perhaps.
Yeah, so it's been an incredible day. Value packed, really. We have to thank Protection One, our platinum,
of course,
highest medal that there is.
Big thanks to all of our sponsors.
Yes.
And in just a few minutes, we're going to be joined by Lieutenant Jim Ostojic with the Polk County Sheriff's Office, who's going to talk a little bit about the FLAORCA, the Florida Organized Retail Crimes Association conference in Orlando, Florida on June 20th.
Yeah, it's coming right around the corner.
That's right. It's
and he's no stranger to NRF.
No, not at all. Jim,
we've had him as a guest before on this show.
Jim has been
you.
a guest in short and long form segments.
That's right.
We love hearing from the lieutenant, and super excited about the conference in Florida. There's the New England Organized Retail Crime Association's conference in the middle of September.
Yeah.
The California Organized Retail Crime Association conference is the end of September.
You're not going to try those acronyms? They're so fun.
I'm not going to lay them all in, but needless to say, if you have an interest in getting involved and hearing about networking activities, the Orcas are a good way to do that.
Yeah, we're going to bring on Jim whenever he's ready to come on over. Yeah, it's live. We're just going to have you jump right in.
Step right in.
Yeah, I'm going to bail out, and hey, you guys enjoy it. And you're on.
There's your microphone. Thanks for, ladies and gentlemen, the famous Lieutenant Jim Ostojic with the Polk County Sheriff's Office. My good friend, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And so literally minutes ago, we asked Jim to come on and spend a few minutes talking about the FLAORCA conference taking place in just about a month's time on the 20th of July.
It's going to be the 21st.
21st of July.
Yes.
Talk to me.
Yeah, so we're going to have a great event this year. We have a lot of people coming. We've really expanded a lot of our resources. We've just opened up our internet site for the sharing of information that we have. And you can go to FLAORCA. And if you just type that in Google and be able to get on the site, it's really provided. We already think that we're over 200 users already.
Okay, and just so that spell out the website, FLAORCA.
Yeah,
.org, right?
We have some great guest speakers this year, and it's really going to provide some great knowledge to the law enforcement and retail community that we have.
And it's in Orlando, so it's a good time to perhaps bring the family out. The Loss Prevention Day is on a Friday, so you have the weekend to perhaps enjoy one of the local theme parks, Disney in particular. Sorry, that was a shameless plug for my old employer. So it's great. And Jim, since last year, you've spent a lot of time doing training and education programs, not just in Southern Florida, but really around the country. In all of your travels, can you share a little bit about what are the hot topics that agencies are interested in hearing about, your law enforcement colleagues?
Sure. What I've found out a lot by traveling around the country is that as we're educating more and more law enforcement agencies, they're getting involved in organized retail crime, and they see the impact that it makes on their community. And what a lot of people don't realize is that these crimes, when you catch people for the retail crimes, it leads to solving larger crimes, robberies, which is a very hot topic right now in the industry. But sometimes if you focus in on the little crimes, then it helps you to solve the bigger crimes. And that's what we're teaching agencies, and the best part about it is we're teaching the retailers how to really communicate with the law enforcement officers. It's not the days of, hey, here's my case and you can take it and run with it. It's more, let's work as partners. And all through the years I've done this, the partnership is important. And I think the most important thing is that when you put everybody in the same room for the training, it really makes a big difference.
Right. And, it's our case. We're the victims. We suffer the loss. We shouldn't expect that we simply hand it off and the law enforcement genies are going to magically make it go away. We own it, right? It's a partnership that we have to work with you and your colleagues to get resolution. So let me shift topics slightly. There's, talk now, the National Retail Security Survey was just released last week. It was very clear that external theft and organized retail crime activity outpaces the internal theft issues that we see. Almost $50 billion of loss nationwide. Yet we're seeing this wave across the country of, let's call it decriminalization. What are the thoughts from a law enforcement perspective? And help check me on this. Am I crazy? Are we just simply letting people get away with crime blatantly and no punishment?
Well, I can speak for our county. Whenever we have a retail theft suspect, everybody takes the ride to jail. And I can tell you that right now that our crime in our county, because we do things like that, we interview the people when we arrest them, and the littlest crime sometimes can lead you to the largest crime. Yep. As you remember, I had a simple shoplifting case years ago, what turned into a much larger scale, $100 million case, $60 to $100 million case in that time period. So the interesting part about this that you bring up is that we really, our crime is at still a low, and we keep going lower. And sometimes I even look, and it's just we're so proactive on the retail crime, it really helps us out a lot. And I think if you take that stance, and as long as every person's interviewed, I think that's really an important part. And I think when you take law enforcement out of that, that's a problem because they may not get that information that they need.
Right. So if I dumbed it down and said, nobody likes getting pulled over, and nobody wants a traffic ticket. The equivalent for a shoplifter is actually having law enforcement interaction and perhaps even a ride to jail. In my mind, the decriminalization is almost like bringing him to the back room and playing a game of patty cake, collecting the information and letting him go. Now, I'm simplifying that, but if you're a retailer today and you're trying to change the minds of legislators, not to raise the felony threshold, or perhaps take a different look at law enforcement resources. And, look, you're the victim of the budget like every other organization. How do we position that to somebody and say, we need to help law enforcement? Law enforcement is this is an important issue that it's a shoplifting and ORC are gateway crimes into much bigger issues. Does that still ring true? And is there something else we can position to prosecutors and legislators?
Interesting part, as I go do this different traveling and around the country, I have a lot of talk with the retail associations and their thresholds. And some of the thresholds are just getting so high these days that, taking somebody to jail for a misdemeanor now can be up to $1,000 in some places. Ours is $300. We're very, lucky with that because obviously it gives us more room to do and work. But, it's almost the equivalent of, how would you feel if somebody came to your house and they stole $1,000 worth of stuff? Wouldn't you want them arrested for the proper crime? And what happens a lot of times is that I can tell you that solving major crimes, as I spoke about before, it comes from interviewing that minor, or in some areas, I don't even want to say a minor crime because it could become, retail theft is a big crime. If you watch some of the TV shows and things like that, it explains that. And it's very important that everybody, fights that legislation to move up the thresholds because it's only going to hurt you in the end. Because now what we've seen is in the criminal trend, that which may be tribute to the rising of the money, is that hey, I know $300 is going to be a felony, so I'm going to steal $299.
Right.
And it happens.
Right.
And then what happens is that they know, and then what happens is they tell one person, and another person, then another person, another person, then where you're going to end up. Now you're going to have $999.
Right. In one of the earlier segments, somebody asked the question, do the criminals really know the threshold levels? And the answer is absolutely.
Absolutely.
They know them. They want the revolving door to work for them and not have the inconvenience of going down to the Polk County facilities and visiting your friends there. Let's shift the topic just slightly. Retailers have now, for the most part, started to go to chip and signature technology. So we've seen, in some ways, fraud, skimming cases drop. The banks are still heavily victimized with ATMs, and now we're seeing it with online cases. How is that impacting local law enforcement and some of the ways that you work with retailers and the banks, and what's on your radar relative to chip and signature?
One of the important parts and one of the reasons why I became involved in FLAORCA. And, I'm fortunate to be the vice president right now for the law enforcement side. And, one thing is that we're starting to build this network all together. Take away and let's put that strategy back to our use. As far as the skimming, yes, that is a big topic now, and even with the chip and pins, what's going to come next. But one thing that we do is we're always trying to look into the future, and one of the future crimes now is online crime. And that's definitely something that we want to build on at this point to get everybody involved. As far as the skimming, we're trying to put on classes now, and that's one of the things that we're going to be doing at FLAORCA and at the FRF conference is, talking a lot about the skimming.
FRF is the Florida Retail Federation.
Yes, correct.
The state association in the state of Florida.
Yes.
Sorry.
And who we partner up with FLAORCA. So it's important, to have that partnership. We don't want to be doing separate things. We want to be working together.
Right. That makes complete sense. So we have time for one more question, and I want to go completely crazy with you on this topic. So fast forward 2 or 3 years, and we are now on autonomous driving cargo trucks that are driving the 95 and delivering freight. 2 vehicles get together, they force the truck to the side of the road, and this autonomous vehicle, no driver, is the victim of a cargo theft. Is this even on the law enforcement radar, this new technology and these new waves of crimes that will take place? Sorry, I don't mean to go off on a tangent, but the Google self-driving cars with the radars and cameras on the top. Look, in LA, if one of those suckers stops in East LA, it's gone. They're going to steal all the equipment and sell it for parts on eBay. Is that on your radar?
Absolutely. And, especially in law enforcement, we have to, adapt to the different areas. And that's one thing that we do at our sheriff's office. We do adapt to the different crimes. And, it's interesting you bring that up, Joe, because now the technology of drones and delivering, product and things like that to the house, how we're going to evolve to work with that. So that's why we're hoping, to work with the different companies to come up with some strategies to combat that. Because I think it is, cargo theft obviously is a widespread problem at this point. It's, a lot of times they have a lot of great solutions now to try to work on that to help us. But yes, we do, and we do evolve, and I do see that in the future. One of the things now that I'm trying to work with the agency about is looking at the online investigations for some type of retail. So we'll see where that heads up next year.
Great. So one more question. We have just a couple of extra minutes. Behind us, you're starting to see Claude with universal surveillance systems. And off my shoulder, I happen to see Adele Sage walk in the door. And I don't know if he'd be willing, this is live, so, and since I have the microphone, I can ask any question. I see him so willing to perhaps come over and just say hello. Well, USS is a sponsor here at the event. Adele's not going to make it onto the camera, unfortunately, but here's the deal. There are service providers here sponsoring the event. I'm sure you have some that sponsor the FLAORCA event. And it's about partnership. We've been talking today about partnerships and networking, about skill sets, and how do we pull this all together. How do retailers and how do solution providers get involved in FLAORCA if they want to participate?
Well, right now, the contact person for that would be Tom Jackson, and you contact him, and through the FRF, and that's how they would contact them, And I do want to take a second out and tell you that Adele and Claude have been great providers to children and law enforcement. I'm very impressed with their program that they do for California. It's something that they, that I like to see. We do a lot for people in Florida, but he really takes it above and beyond, and I salute him for that. And Claude, they do a lot for the children, so that's great.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing that information, spending some time with us. We'd love to have you on every June, so you have an open invite anytime that we're here. Enlisted Lieutenant Jim Ostojic with the Polk County Sheriff's Office, the Vice President of the Florida Organized Retail Crimes Association. Check out the FLAORCA Conference on July 21st, Orlando, Florida, the Gaylord Resort. Hope to see you there. Thanks for tuning in. We're going to turn it back over to Gus Downing right now.